Hello and welcome, yogis and yoginis. I'm Lisa Ingleswitter, and I'm so delighted to be with you here today for another week of our non-dual tantric meditation practice. So, if you are new to my classes and you're like, what the heck is non-dual tantric meditation? If you're watching on YouTube, there should be a link right underneath this video, underneath this stream that has a explanation. What is non-dual, or I think it's called non-dual tantric meditation explained. So I highly recommend watching that video if you're unsure what you're getting yourself into here. But I do have to say, it's anybody can drop in even if you don't watch that video. But if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what non-dual tantric meditation is, then that's a good little intro video, a starter video. But these sessions are made for everyone. You can just drop in and see if you like it. If you like it, I encourage you to come every week to these classes. They do build on one another. So just like with any other type of practice, if you only do it once or even twice, you don't really get an idea. It's really hard to feel the fruits of the practice. So, yeah, I just encourage you to maybe come several times, check it out, see if it's the type of meditation that you're looking for. Non-dual tantric meditation is not mindfulness meditation. It's not relaxation or stress relief meditation. However, all of those things are byproducts of our meditation practice. So, what is non dual tantric meditation about? It is about awakening, spiritual awakening, awakening to your true nature, releasing yourself from the burdens of all of the thoughts and the stories that keep you bound to a life of ups and downs, a life of disappointment, like the extremes of disappointments and then ecstatic happiness. um, it's it is the path over my 30 years that I've found, and I call myself, up until a certain point, I called myself a spiritual tourist because I tried everything. I tried every path, I feel like, and I finally stumbled upon this path of non-dual tantra about 5 years ago, and it has completely changed my life, and it's completely changed the way that I work with my clients one-on-one. It's changed the way I teach my classes and my programs, for the better, really. So I am delighted to have you here with us today and joining in on our session. Just a couple of things that I'll go over before we start. So, number one is today's offering is free. All of these offerings on YouTube. And if you're a subscriber to my YouTube channel, you know, obviously everything is free on YouTube. And if you find value in our time together, if you find these classes valuable for you, and you wish to support with a contribution, well, I'm not going to stop you. There is a link to donate in the description below, but also you'll see the QR code on your screen here. So if you're watching on your computer, you can just scan that QR code and donate. Any little bit helps. Really, all the donations go towards is the costs for me to produce these videos at a higher quality than just right off of my phone. And it does cost for the production piece of it with the different softwares and the things that I have to subscribe to. So that's what your donation goes towards. And it also, of course, goes towards just honoring the time and the commitment that I put into doing these sessions with you. But more than that, it is my deep, deep belief that if you're on the path of awakening, If you're seeking it, if you're an earnest seeker, then it shouldn't be put behind a paywall. It shouldn't be kept from you. And I'm a strong proponent of that. And I have students who I know don't have the resources, and I don't care. I offer my services for free if that's what is needed, but only if it's really, really needed, right? So it's a balancing act here. So thank you for joining tonight, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of what to expect, because if you're not watching on YouTube, you don't have the description, which sort of gives an outline of what we do in our sessions here. So, number one, I will start off. I'm going to open our virtual space together, our virtual circle, by beginning with our non dual invocation. And I'll say it first in Sanskrit, and then I'll say it again in English so that you know what's being said. And this is an invocation that has been handed down through lineage, verbally, orally, I should say. So it's very, very powerful in that way. And it's a really beautiful invocation to open us up with. So I'll begin with that, and then we'll set our sankalpa together. What is your intention for your practice? So we'll take a moment or two to set our sankalpa, and then I'll give a brief teaching about what our practice is going to be based on. So every week, the practice is different every week. So I like to give you a little prep, what to expect. And then we'll do our practice together, which will be somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. So now's your time to, if you're just joining in, make sure that you're in a nice quiet space. You maybe have your meditation cushion or a chair that you're going to be sitting in that feels comfortable, but like I always say, not too comfortable, because I don't want you to do a sleepitation. I don't want you to fall asleep. Ideally, these practices are not done lying down. However, if your body tonight can't, or this morning, or whatever time it is in your neck of the woods, if your body needs to be lying down, great. But if you find yourself snoring, that's not the purpose of our practice together. So with that, we're going to go ahead and begin. So I just invite you to close your eyes and get settled. Maybe taking a couple of long, slow breaths. And allowing your awareness to move into the region of your heart, not your physical heart, your energetic heart, which is located just behind the sternum, the breastbone, deep, deep in your innermost being. And as you find your awareness moving into the sacred space of your heart, allow all of your inner senses to begin to open. So your inner sense of seeing and hearing and smelling and touching, but most importantly, allowing your inner sense of just knowing, your deepest intuitive wisdom, to begin to open quite widely as you prepare to receive the non-dual invocation. And even though you may not understand conceptually these words, That's okay. Trust that there is a deep inner knowing that is aware, and that when these words touch that awareness, it will awaken something deep within you. So just imagining or sensing that as you hear the invocation, that it spills through the crown of your head like a golden nectarian light. And it spills through the crown of your head, through the very center of your being. If you're familiar with the central channel, it flows through the central channel and it spills into your heart, completely saturating your heart. Atma Twam Girija Mati Sahachara Prana Sharirangarham Pujate Vishayo Paboga Rachana Nidra Samadhi Stiti Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Vidhi Stotrani Sarva Gira Yad Yat Karma Karomi Tat Terakilam Shambho Tavara Dinam. Jaya Jaya Karunabde Shri Mahadeva Shambho. You are myself, my core, my essence. The goddess is my mind, and my pranas are your attendants. My body is your temple, and enjoying the objects of the senses is my worship of you. My sleep is your state of samadhi. And wherever I walk, I'm performing worship of you. All my words are hymns of praise to you, and all my actions are worship of you, O benevolent one. Om. And then just taking your time to gradually open your eyes, coming back into our space together. So welcome once again, yogis and yoginis, to our non-dual tantric meditation tonight. Before we begin, we always want to set a sankalpa, an intention. What is the intention for the fruits of your practice? Not necessarily for your practice right now, like what do you want right now, but what do you hope that your practice brings to you over the coming days and weeks and months and even years ahead? It's really important to have a sankalpa for your practice. So one of the ways that I like to do that is to use the Karmic Warrior Oracle, and all my students who come to my classes on Mondays in Berkeley and Tuesdays in Sebastopol are used to this. Everyone always gets a opportunity to shuffle the deck for themselves and pick a card. Then we go around our circle and share our cards. And our cards offer a message. Oracles are not predictive. They don't predict the future, and this one is no different. It's prescriptive. It gives us sort of some support, some guidance for where we should be focusing or where we can be focusing, or giving us a little bit of a nudge like, look here, look here. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a card from the Oracle, and we'll see what guidance it's giving us for our Sankalpa. Oop, I'm going to take this one. All right. I got an Awaken card, and the message on the back, so this is just the face, but there's 4 different faces to the cards. When we pick a card, the Awaken card, it's a little nudge. It's saying, hey, it's time to maybe do some direct experience practices so that you have a direct experience of your true nature. And just so happens that that's the type of practice that we're going to be doing tonight. So that's good. So Awaken, that's the face of our card, but the back of the card has a message as well. So there's a word at the top of the card, and there's 2 interpretations. I'm going to read both of the interpretations. I'll also read the word. So the word is maintaining. And when we're not abiding in our true nature, how we'll experience this principle, which I'll explain in just a moment, how we'll experience this principle is an aversion or attachment to the way things are. The inability to see that all things come and go in due time. So just sit with that for a moment. How might that apply to you in some area of your life? An aversion or an attachment to the way things are, the inability to see that all things come and go in due time. So that's when we're not abiding in our true nature. When we are abiding in our true nature, how we'll experience this principle is an understanding that while certain things seem to be constant and unchanging, everything is impermanent. Allowing things to be as they are. So maintaining is one of the 5 acts of the divine. So the divine has 5 acts: creation, maintenance or maintaining, dissolution or death, concealing and revealing. So the oracle is pointing us towards this second act of the divine, maintaining, to see that while it might seem like circumstances are solid or for sure certain, for instance, our work, our relationships, they seem like they're constant, like they're there, but everything is impermanent. Everything comes and goes. So it's really good for us to recognize this truth that nothing is permanent. Everything in our objective reality comes and goes. And when we have an aversion to a particular situation, it can seem like it's lasting forever. Like it's never going to end. I'm going to be stuck with this horrible boss forever. Right? Or this, this particular friendship. It's just been going on for years and years and years. And it's always has this one thing, whatever. When we're in the thick of it and we're identified with our situations and our circumstances, they can seem like they last forever. Same with relationships. To any relationship is like this, but the opposite is true when we have an attachment to things. It often seems like, oh no, I don't want it to go. I want it to stay. I'm so in love with this person, or I'm just having the best time on this vacation. I just don't want it to end. And so there's an attachment to keeping it like it is, but all things come and go. So, how can you in your practice allow an understanding of the impermanence of things? That, yes, things are maintained for a certain period of time, but they come and go, right? And when we have this understanding, we can live life more gracefully. And isn't that what we all want, anyways? To be able to have a little bit more ease in our life, to live life a little more gracefully. When we understand that this act of maintaining is part of a bigger cycle, and we put our life into context of this bigger cycle. Things are created, they're maintained, they're destroyed. Things are created again, they're maintained, and then they're destroyed. We can put our life into this bigger context of the acts of the divine, and recognize, oh, this is what's happening in my life right now. So, without going into it too much further, that's just a little bit of that teaching on our Sankalpa. And I do want to talk a little bit about our practice. So our practice tonight, or I should say the entry point into our practice tonight, is one of the most fundamental practices in non-dual Tantra. And that is being able to answer this question, this very, very important question, which is, who am I? And that being able to answer that question for anybody, that's a hard thing to do. It's not easy. And that's why in this tradition, we have what are called direct experience practices. And we're going to do one tonight. But let me first give you a little bit of a teaching on this. So in this view, all suffering, meaning all of our disappointments, all of the ups and downs in life, and the craziness that we experience, the chaos that we experience mentally and emotionally in our lives, comes from fundamentally, at its most basic level, comes from one thing. And we can call it a case of mistaken identity, not knowing who we really are, having a misconception of who we really are. And when we have a misconception of who we are, that misconception is always based on stories. Oh, I'm this, I'm that, my name is Lisa, so I'm Lisa, and I live in Northern California, and I'm this old, and I have this many children, and I'm married or I'm not married, and I'm this, I'm that. All of these things. These are stories. These are constructs that we put on ourselves. When we believe those stories, it causes, it would be a case of mistaken identity. And what happens is when we believe these stories that we have about ourselves, inevitably, it creates a sense within ourselves that something is missing. It creates a sense within ourselves that there must be something more. I don't know what it is, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but I know I don't have it yet. And so I'm going to search for it. That's what happens when we have a case of mistaken identity. And who hasn't been there? We've all been there if we're not there right now, right? I've certainly spent most of my life there. So what happens is this sense of there must be something more happens, and it creates this longing, like this desire. This desire gets created within us, and that desire is a desire to either acquire something in order to feel whole and complete, or a desire to get rid of something in order to feel whole and complete. I need to get rid of this relationship and then everything will be better. I need to get rid of these extra 20 pounds and then everything will be better. Or I need to get more money and then everything will be better. You get the idea. Of course, it's much more complex than this. I'm just giving really simple examples. But case of mistaken identity leads to desire, the desire to acquire something or get rid of something. And that desire to acquire or get rid of something motivates all of our actions. Everything that we do in life then becomes motivated either by the desire to get something in order to feel whole and complete, or the desire to get rid of things in order to feel whole and complete. So those actions then lead to results in our life, and we could call those results karma. Karma does not mean, it has nothing to do with good actions create good results, and he has bad karma, she has bad karma, and oh wow. The way karma is used colloquially is not what karma is. Karma is so karma theory is so complex. I'm not going to go into it here, but I'm just saying that karma just means, or the law of karma simply means, every action creates a result, right? So we have a case of mistaken identity leads to desire. That desire motivates our actions, and those actions create results in our life. And usually those results end up in disappointment, dissatisfaction, despair, unhappiness. Initially, it might be that we're happy, but then down the line, there's some type of disappointment or expectations that aren't fulfilled. So this is why on this path, the non-dual tantric path, we're always going for, let's just go right to the heart of things. Let's get to the core, right? And the core is knowing who we really are. Because when we know who we really are, what happens is we no longer have this sense that something is missing. We know I'm whole and complete as I am. Nothing can be added to me or subtracted from me. I already feel whole and complete. And what that does is it changes the nature of our desire. The nature of our desire becomes then an urge to express, to experience, and to explore reality, to explore our lives with our gifts through this body, with all of our senses. And then our actions are motivated by that desire. But because those actions aren't based on attachment or aversion, they don't ever lead to disappointment with the results. So this is literally, I've just given you the map of how we create a life of lasting fulfillment. If you get this, is life-changing. Literally, it is. It's far beyond, and I don't mean to put down any other types of meditations, but it's far beyond doing mindfulness meditation where you get some momentary relief. It's far beyond doing meditation to relieve a bit of tension in our body. It's even far beyond doing types of yogas where you're, Kundalini yogas where you're just focused on like doing kriyas and breath work, which are give you momentary experiences in the body of, awakening, really. Like they make you feel vital. That's the word I'm looking for, vital and alive. They do, because they're working with your prana, but none of these work at the level of the essence of who you are. And so that's what we're going to be focused on tonight in our practice, is practicing a direct experience practice of knowing your true nature. And it might seem like, okay, this is, how do I do this? You don't have to worry about that because I'll be leading you here. But I really, really want to stress that if you're truly interested in alleviating yourself from disappointment, suffering, unhappiness, then these are the types of practices that you want to do, because they're going to literally begin to recode who you are. I mean, not who you are at a fundamental level, but these practices are going to begin to undermine the stories of who you think you are. So the only way that you can really understand what I'm saying is to have the direct experience. And that requires doing these types of practices regularly. That's why I have a playlist on YouTube of a whole bunch of different non-dual meditations that you can refer to, or just come here every Thursday night and do these meditation practices with us. And if you're someone who wants to go deeper into this, I do teach classes and workshops and mentorships where we go very deep into this and really, really exploring it. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and begin our practice. Actually, I'm going to give you one more thing that will help you for our practice. Our suffering comes from identifying with the stories that we have about ourselves and that we have about reality. So what we're going to be doing in our practice is moving away from the stories that we have about ourselves. So hopefully I'll be able to point you in that direction, and then moving towards what you really are. So my hope is that by the end of this practice, you'll have a felt sense of your true nature. All right. So let's go ahead and begin by closing our eyes, taking a couple of long, slow breaths and getting settled. Sensing the surface underneath you and all the different places where the surface comes into contact with the different parts of your body. And feeling the support of the surface underneath you. Maybe even noticing how the ground is always there, supporting you, holding you, no matter what. The ground is always there. So just allowing, once again, as we did in the beginning, your awareness to move into the space of your heart, so that you can practice from the space of your heart as opposed to the space of your head And as you find yourself in the space of your heart, perhaps you can sense into a deep stillness there. It's a stillness that underlies all activity. So even if there's activity in your external environment in the form of other people in your space, moving around, or activity of the body in the form of tensions or aches and pains, or a movement of the mind in the form of thoughts or emotions, there is a stillness that underlies all of that movement. Allow yourself to settle there. And as you settle there, allow yourself to hear, not with your ears and your head, but with your heart. So consider the possibility that all of your suffering, all of your disappointments is caused by one thing and one thing only: a misunderstanding of who and what you are. So the problem isn't your thoughts, it's not your emotions, as most personal growth experts might have you believe. The problem isn't your parents or your siblings, as maybe therapists might have you believe. The problem isn't the color of your skin or your gender, as society might want you to believe. The problem isn't your job or your education or where you live. The problem isn't the circumstances that you find yourself in. All of these are only what we think to be the problems because of a problem of misidentification. Most of the time, most of us think that we are our stuff. We think that we are our body. We think that we are our thoughts and emotions. We think that we are our race, our color, our creed, our politics, and so we suffer. And when you suffer, you cause others to suffer. And the vast majority of all suffering, both internal and perpetuated on others, happens because of a case of mistaken identity. Those who are privileged can only believe that they deserve their privilege because they're identified with their body, their ethnicity, their economic status, and so on. And those who are less privileged suffer much, much more when they identify with the physical and sociocultural, or with their physical and sociocultural factors. So the solution is to shift your locus of identification from all of these things to your true nature as consciousness, as awareness. So now, becoming aware of all the phenomena in your external environment. In other words, become aware of all of the sounds, all of the odors or scents, even all aware of textures touching your skin. If your eyes happen to be open, then you can be aware of objects. Just notice that all of these things, all of these phenomena are being held right now within your awareness. In other words, you are aware of this voice leading a meditation. You are aware of other sounds as well. So just noticing that that's true, that you are aware of these different perceptions. They're being literally held within your awareness right now. In other words, the computer that's sitting in front of you, or the phone that's sitting in front of you, isn't aware of you. You are aware of it. The sounds that you hear right now in your environment aren't aware of you. You are aware of them. It's the same with all phenomena. So bringing your awareness now to the body. Notice in your direct experience that you are not your body. This one can be a little bit tricky, but all you need to do is to notice that your body is actually an object in your awareness. You are aware of this body. The body isn't aware of you. If you're not convinced that you're not your body, then try this little thought experiment. If you were to lose a part of your body, a hand, an arm, a leg, would you still be you? If you were to lose your sight or your hearing, would you still be you? Yes, of course, you would still be you. You are not your body. Your body is simply an object that you are aware of. So bringing your awareness now to your breath. Take a moment to observe the breath. You may even imagine or sense that you could move the breath into your body and that you can allow the breath to move up and down your spine. So that the inhale, the breath moves down, not really the spine, but the central channel. And as you breathe out or exhale, it moves up. If you're very sensitive, you will sense the breath deep in the center of your body. And this is prana. This is life force. But notice that the breath, even when it's in its most subtle form of prana in this way, it's in your awareness. You are aware of the breath. So even prana isn't you. Bringing your awareness now to whatever thoughts or emotions may be arising. Notice how thoughts and emotions, both of them, they arise in your awareness. In other words, you are aware of your thoughts, of your emotions, not the other way around. And this is how we begin to disentangle ourselves, to disidentify with all these different aspects that we've, through our language, considered to be who we are. Simply by noticing that everything that you ever thought you were is actually held within your awareness. It is an object of your awareness. Therefore, it cannot be you. An object cannot be you. So now sense into the possibility of noticing the quality of this moment right now before you have a thought about it. The trick is to not think about it, but just to notice. It's a felt sense. What is the quality of this moment before you have a thought about it? You cannot answer that question with another thought. It's a felt sense. If you're able to do it even for a second, what you'll feel is expansiveness, spaciousness. You'll sense a silence, but not the silence of absence, rather the silence of presence. And you'll sense a stillness, but it's not an inert stillness. It's a stillness that's teeming with infinite potential. This is consciousness. Another word for consciousness is awareness. But more importantly, this is you. This is what you are. This still, silent spaciousness is ever present. It's aware. It's never not aware. So one of the most accurate things you could say about yourself is, I am aware. Are you ever not aware? The answer is no, you're never not aware. Even when you think you're not aware, you're aware that you're not aware. So you're never not aware. You can begin the project of disentangling yourself through the language you use. Instead of saying, I'm angry, that would be incorrect, because as we've just discovered, you're not your emotions. You're aware of your emotions. So it would be more accurate to say, I'm aware of anger. And you can do this for anything really. Emotions and thoughts are the best. If you're making up a story, or you have a story about yourself or someone else, you can simply say, I'm aware of the thought, whatever. You are aware. You are awareness. That's as close to words, truth in words, as you can get about who you are. So just very slowly feeling the surface underneath you, maybe wiggling your fingers and toes and making your way back into our space together. So this practice is admittedly obscure at first if you've never done something like this. But if you have a sense within you, like I do, and so many of the students that I work with do, that I'm ready. I'm ready to wake up. I'm ready to be done with the suffering, with the disappointments, with the ups and downs. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Then this is one of the most fundamental practices that you can do. And sticking with it, and one little key practice that you can do just throughout your day as a micro practice is just to remind yourself, I'm aware. You can be walking outside down the sidewalk in the middle of a busy street and say to yourself, I'm aware of the wind, the sense of the wind against my skin. I'm aware of the heat of the sun on my face. I'm aware of sounds, all different qualities of sounds. I'm aware of colors and textures, all of this. It helps. What we're trying to do here is simply to reorient ourselves to reality. To what we're trying to do here is we're attempting as best as we can to see things as they really are, not as our interpretation of them. So it's these types of practices like the one we did tonight, which you can, if you hopped in a little bit late, you can maybe tomorrow go listen to the beginning of it and get the whole practice, or come back to it. It's be up on YouTube, right? So I invite you to come back to this practice and let me know how it goes for you. Let me know in the comments. I'm always delighted to hear how practices go for everyone. And we will close it out here. I want to thank you so much for joining. And again, these classes are always free. And if you found value in our time together, if you felt like you want, or if you feel like you want to support the continuation of this and of these offerings, donations are accepted. There's obviously the QR code here on the screen, or a donation link underneath in the description if you're watching on YouTube. I appreciate any little bit. It does help me with the production costs. And thank you so much for joining me in this journey. I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope to see you again here next week. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you can get notifications every time we go live and put out new videos all the time, at least once a week. So thank you once again. Take care, be well, and namaste. Bye for now.